any questions for Dr. Adams?
Would you say that Sharon's error was in forming an unrealistic self-concept, and that she was an enabler in that extent, that she, by not realizing that what she wanted was incapable, not realizing that she was more than meeting it, that she was setting herself up for it?
Certainly she had an unrealistic standard in view. I think what she wanted was reasonable. I mean, who doesn't want to be treated as an equal and to be appreciated and that kind of thing? But the premise that she had, that a good wife, or that in order to achieve that, I have to be a good wife. And here's what a good wife does. And that's where I think she got into trouble. She accepted the idea that in order to earn appreciation and respect, she had to engage in all these activities without really demanding actions on the part of her husband. And I'm not sure if she demanded an acknowledgement by him, but it's implicit because she was saying he's not even acknowledging what I'm doing. So does that answer your question?
A little bit. I mean, she kind of realized, like you did, that 3 days, that it wasn't practical, except it took her much longer to get professional help.
Yeah.
Would you say that she had some idea that she was wrong if she sought out therapy on her own rather than seeking marriage counseling or something to that effect to cure him, to make him appreciate her?
Oh.
She went to go and see, why am I not being appreciated? What's wrong with me that's not being appreciated? Maybe she understood that at least somehow she was the one making an error.
Yeah, and it's hard to say just because, again, I didn't see this person, and so I don't have the full context, but here's what I suspect. She was depressed. She felt miserable. And given the way her husband did not react or was not apparently a part of the home life, she probably figured, he's not going to come to therapy with me, but I can go into therapy, and I have to because something's not working here.
Propagation's good life.
Well, it would be interesting if that was actually part of it. As a good wife, I have to go into therapy to do better for my husband. I don't know. But it sounds like that probably wasn't the case because she was considering divorce, and this is a person who didn't like the idea of divorce. That was not consistent with her values. So I'm guessing if she got pushed to that point where she was seriously considering divorce, it wasn't to try to be a good wife. To try to overcome the problem.
Julian. Thank you for the two-part question.
Sure.
Generally speaking, I'm not sure that most people, until they're either under scrutiny or suffering from criticism or negative feedback, have the awareness to test themselves and say, wait a minute, let me go back to my premise, my standard of value, and my self-evaluation.
Right.
Okay. So it would be only someone who seeks counsel or is educated to understand that this is a choice and this is a process that you could go back and look at yourself. And the parallels in your example and Sharon's, was her concept of a good wife set up by her environment, her mother as an example, possibly someone who didn't have a dual career. So her expectations right from the get-go, rather than saying, oh, what is a good wife in my case, she accepted somebody else's version or her environmental interpretation of good wife. You, under self-criticism, decide that the perfect student is in fact a very unrealistic concept. So you were under your own scrutiny. And so the observation would be that you would slant toward an extreme of a concept or an extreme of a standard. Is that normally the case? I mean, if children are being chastised Are they saying, oh, I must be a bad boy, or I must be a bad little girl because I'm being scolded? Do they even sense that at that age?
Well, they may not say that explicitly or consciously, but I would assume that in most cases that's what they would feel.
And doesn't that then carry through to adulthood?
Oh, it certainly can. I mean, I think it certainly a lot of these self-evaluations, as was mentioned earlier in the talk, they start in childhood, and you learn what standards of being a good son, a good daughter, and really through the models of your parents, what being a good mother or father is. That's your earliest model that you have to work with. So to your question of where did she get this self-concept, or where did she get these standards, it very well could have been from her own life growing up. Don't have enough information to know that for sure, but that's where most people get those kinds of standards. And that's why I also said, I don't necessarily blame her for that self-concept, because sometimes you just pick this stuff up in life, and you don't even know that it's in there until it's put to the test. In other words, she might have said, okay, this is what I need to do to be a good wife, but she might not have known where that came from. And it would take a process of looking back and saying, okay, well, this happened or that happened, and here's where I started picking up those ideas. So yeah, I mean, I don't doubt that she picked it up along the way, but never really gave it a lot of thought. And it's one of those things where you don't have to figure out concepts until you need to use them. So in other words, before you're married, do you really think that much about what being a good wife is? Maybe you think a little bit about it, especially as the wedding day approaches or what have you. But until you are the wife, until you have that change in your self-concept, now you're not just a single woman, now you're somebody's wife. And that's a significant change of self-concept, just as when you have a child. Now you're a parent. Another change in your self-concept. But you often hear parents say, what? There's no manual to being a parent. It's something that, at least initially, you're doing the best you can based on what you know. But you've not had to test that concept, or you've never been in the position to have to look at that concept that you hold until you're in that situation.